We gonna speak the unspeakable.
So that's why you have a plate. We gonna serve mama up today.
I want you to be willing to take any and everybody down to save yourself. What stands between you and your vision? Would you be willing to fight for your life? What would that look like if you just had to shut their mouth?
I think I'm
You know
going
what?
crazy.
No. What happened, Eugene? Tell me what's going on.
Beyond Love, Fix My Life. Saturdays, 9/8 Central.
Hey. Welcome to the Real Raw Uncut Show. I'm your host, Mike.
I'm second host, Michael.
And our special guest, as you just saw a clip of on the Beyond Love, Fix My Life, Mr. Corey George.
Hey, everybody.
How are you, Mr. George?
Actually, I'm wonderful.
You good?
Yeah,
It's
awesome.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Feels like a Friday to me.
Actually, you know what? On Monday, with the holiday, I forgot what day it was. I was like, is it Sunday? Is it Tuesday? And so now I know
it was so
it's
slow.
Tuesday. Yeah.
It feels like Monday to me.
Because you didn't go to work. You went to work?
I went to work today. I didn't go to work yesterday because I just got back yesterday.
So speaking of just getting back, how was your week? What's going on?
My week since last show, what I spoke about on the last show about my friends and all that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I went on that trip to Atlanta for MLK weekend with the friend, the other boy. So it wasn't a good trip. And
What made it bad?
well, he was being a hoe, like the whole trip. I don't know. I don't understand.
Okay.
I just said, you go do what you want to, bust one out and keep it popping. But 24 hours a day.
But still, you should have did your own thing. Like, you could have left him.
Well, the problem with that was that I was being respectful, and I told everyone else that I know that was going to be there. I was like, I'm coming down with people, so I'm not going to just be like, oh, I'm just going up and do something else. You know what I'm saying? Like, I came with them, so like we're going to do something. So all my other friends had other plans already set. And so I was trying to juggle, like, all right, well, how can I, change my trip?
Poor thing.
Yeah, it wasn't a good
Poor
trip.
thing. But you knew you shouldn't have went anyway from the experience that you had with him prior.
Well, I was expecting for the wholeness to happen. I just wasn't expecting for it to happen, like, all the time. Like, all the time. Like, you know how people get on their phone, they text, they check Facebook and all that? Like, it was just apps all the time. Like, from the time they wake up to the time we go to bed.
But Mike, that one person does not stop you from living your life.
No, I ain't stopping from living my life. Bank account's still good.
I'm
Job is
talking about
still
Atlanta.
good.
I'm not talking about all that stuff. Like, you still could have went out and enjoyed Atlanta.
I'm not one to really go out. Like,
But you went in Atlanta. You were in another city, another state. Like, why didn't you just...
what you mean?
That wasn't home for you. You should have explored the city. You
Yeah,
didn't meet anyone.
I don't really adventure out by myself. Like, if I can't like have someone there to like share what I'm doing with, like,
And you're never gonna live.
It's not.
You're never gonna live.
You know,
You're never gonna live.
it's not like that all the
You're never
time.
gonna live.
Judgment.
No, it's no judgment. Seriously, if you constantly waiting for somebody to do something that you want to do, you're never going to do it.
But
Prime
what you-
example, in Atlanta, you did nothing,
But
waiting
what-
for someone else who
What
was
makes you
doing
think
them.
that I
It's fine,
do
Mike.
all the time? Are you
Mr. George,
mad?
how was your week?
Well, it wasn't as of interest as that one. It was the usual. I started the new week planning new things. But the year just started, right?
Yeah.
So I have a whole list of new goals that I want to start off. So I've been working in terms of my job. Then I've been working on new projects, not just to further my brand, but to further the whole point that we are all here to do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of just being busy doing good stuff, working on a new workshop that I'm launching in March here in DC.
Oh, cool.
Starting a new podcast hopefully next month, and as well as putting the final touches on the website for this stuff that we hope to talk about soon. So
Yes.
yeah, that's been it. And of course my kids and my fiance who's here with me now. So
Hey.
yeah.
So we're going to touch on some of the stuff that you talked about, especially like the purpose, because let's go into that now.
Sure.
The purpose, like I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but it's just like, is it what I'm supposed to be doing?
Well, many people don't understand that purpose is about the whole reason that you have a purpose is because it helps you define why you're here. You know, because we're born to do something for
Right.
somebody else.
Right.
So most of us are looking for what we can get out of the world, our paycheck, the next big thing. But we're not often asking, what are we here for? And we're here to serve. If we believe in God, then we know we're here to serve.
Amen.
And for me, I feel like everything that I've been through, which is in this book, and we'll talk about this soon, and everything that I will continue to go through, because life doesn't stop and issues don't stop. Just, money or fame doesn't stop the fact that you'll have life issues. But then if you're wise enough, you learn how to manage them a little easier along the way. So that's my job. My job is to teach people as a life coach and as a specialist to learn how to manage life, because you will never be over everything. But answer through my work, through the workshops, the books, and the private things that I do in terms of coaching and everything else, that's what the point is, to teach. So basically, I teach through everything that I do, and that's my purpose, is to take my adversities, and I take the inverse of what that was, and now that that same adversity has turned into a power, and so now I can teach from the victory point of view of the same adversity. So that's what I do, and in terms of purpose, we don't often know what that is, and you kind of wake up one day and you realize what it is. So folks always ask me, how do you know what it is?
Right, exactly.
I woke up one day and I realized, you know what, I was sick of myself. Listen, I was sick of myself, crying for no reason, always wondering why me and why me and why me. And so then one day I had to man up, and I said, well,
That sounds familiar.
yeah. But really, I tell people all the time, especially the folks that I work with, while you sit behind your own line, everybody else's life is going on. So by the time you catch up, you still have to catch up with everybody else. So, your purpose is that thing that when you wake up in the morning and you're doing something and it feels good to you, and if you can do it for free or do it all day, if you can do something all day, and although you're tired, it's a good tired, but your job makes you tired. Because see, my job, I go 8 hours and that's all you're going to get from me. But my purpose, I could be up all night and, until 3 and 4. And although I complain about being tired, but I'm not mad at it, because I know I did something, and I'm tired for a reason. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out. Like I said, I do this, I do that, but it's like, is it? Like, I don't know. Some days I just feel so lost, and I have, like, how you just don't have anyone to talk to because everyone is just lost with you.
Well, that means you need to change your circle.
That's true too.
Because if everybody lost, who's?
That's true too.
So in every group, someone has to be the shepherd. So you all can't be lost.
And I try to be.
And some
Trying
folks
to be-
are
What
not.
makes you feel like you don't have nobody to talk to?
I don't, because I just.
You ain't told me nothing.
But the truth is,
I try to ask, and
There are reasons
I've
behind
some
it.
advice over here, just so you know.
But how if you've never experienced what I've been through?
I'm not quite sure you know.
But that's a
Just
valuable thing
yet.
to say, because what I want to tell people is one of the most valuable lessons you learn in a friendship circle is not every friend is there to support every goal or dream of yours. Because that you can talk to him about certain things, right? But other things, as of now, you think you can't. And that's okay, because everybody's not equipped to support everything. I have friends that I never talk about this stuff with because they don't get it. It's not their thing, But then I have friends I can call, or I can talk to my partner, and he gets it, and he gives me feedback. So sometimes we make the mistake of putting a lot of requirements on people that are not right. Meaning everybody just can't support everything because that's not their thing, and it's not because they don't want to. They're just not built to. So when you respect those limitations in other people, you don't make false expectations, and that's in the book also. So
We're going to get to this.
Yeah.
We're going to get to this. We sound like that's in the book. That's in the book.
Yes. Well.
Whenever a topic come up, I'm like, oh
say
yeah, I wrote
nothing.
about that. That's in the book. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're going to get to that a little later. We're going to also talk about your experience on Iyanla Fix My Life. I don't know why I'm so intrigued about that. I know when you made that email, I was like, if you don't stop asking me about a clip and everything else.
No, it's fine.
We're going to talk about your new clothing line you're working on.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come right back and get into Mr. George.
Listen vision, listen vision. DC's #1 recording studio. Listen vision, listen vision, listen vision. DC's #1 recording studio. Listen vision, listen vision, listen vision. DC's #1 recording studio. Listen vision, listen vision, listen vision. DC's #1 recording studio. Listen vision, listen vision, listen vision. DC's #1 recording studio. Listen vision, listen vision. DC's #1 recording studio.
All right, welcome back. Real Raw and Uncut. Michael, and we got our other hosts, Mike G, and a special guest, Mr. Corey George.
Hey, everybody.
So here at the Real Raw and Uncut show, we have 3 vendors in the house, and I just want to go around, let them introduce themselves, and push their product, basically. So we're gonna skip you. So this table is a table. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves and tell the people who you are and what your product is?
I am Selena with Bud Baker Products, and I have tons of edibles here, guys. I have hamburgers and infused. I have greens that are infused. Lots of sweet stuff. I have chocolate chip cupcakes. I have chocolate cupcakes. Many, many different kinds of cereal bars, and I believe I have some ice cream with me today as well. Good stuff, guys.
That's
and
like
it will
the
all get you nice
major
and high,
items.
or it will give you very good pain relief and very good medicine.
I need pain relief.
Thank you.
All right. Ooh, I think I would have I don't smoke. I never smoked before or done THC, but I think I would have the biggest itis I've ever had in my whole life.
You will.
I would be full and high.
Off of what?
Off the greens and the ice cream and everything else.
Yeah.
You can handle that. You can
I
handle
ain't
an edible.
never been high before.
No?
No.
Yeah.
Not once. No.
That's what you should have had in Atlanta. You would have had a good time.
I
So-
would be asleep.
Back to the man of the hour, Mr. George. Before we left off, you guys seen the clip of him on Iyanla Fix My Life. How was that experience?
Well, I've been asked that since it aired. So we taped that almost a year to the day it aired. There were a few surprises that I didn't expect because they contacted me, to be on the show. And I went on it, and I always tell people what you saw was 2 hours. on the show, but we were there for 4 days. So there was a lot of real work, a lot of real soul searching, a lot of, real authentic digging that we had to do. And being a life coach, I understood what she was doing. So she was coaching. But at the end of the day, when you watch a show, it really is about the production at that point, too.
Yeah.
So when I left, so the most interesting part of it for me was because it dealt with black men who survived childhood sexual assault. I've been an advocate for it, for years. So I hadn't been on the victim side in years. So that was the hardest part for me, to take away my name and take away my brand and, how people knew me.
Strip yourself down.
Yeah, and just be Corey and say, God, is this where I need to be? Because the irony of that, like maybe 2 years prior, my oldest kid, he was watching the show and he said, Daddy, you need to be on the OWN network. I was like, well, that's a good thought. I would love that. And then in my head, I'm thinking in the capacity of a talk show or something else. So when they contacted me, I had to kind of really think and say, is this where I want it to be? And then when I realized that there are men out there, thousands of men that look like us, black men specifically, who still come to me and tell me that they can't tell the story, that's what made me do it. And if anyone saw the show and the first scene of us being in front of the house, that's the only moment I knew who was there. So nobody knew who was coming.
Right, exactly.
I didn't know that it was going to be a gay black male cast. I knew that she wanted to work with black men. So I had to get settled with that because I'm very specific in not portraying that issue as being a gay black issue. Because a lot of the men that talk to me are straight men with families, kids, they're doctors, they're lawyers, and people on the surface you will look like, oh wow, he's Superman, but he's going home crying somewhere, or he's going home and shooting up drugs, or he's going home and trying to find something that balances that imbalance that he's never talked about. Because I always say that every issue that you don't talk about, it shows up in your life somewhere. It shows up in how you deal with your friends, how you choose your friends, how you deal with your partner, which partners you choose, because you may be choosing from a place of lowliness. And so you're going to pick somebody that you think is supposed to fill in that void, stuff like spackle, but that's not how it works. So when you're broken, you make broken choices. So that's why you see people who you wouldn't think be with certain people, but if you know their background, you say, oh, so now I see why you picked that person, because it wasn't about what you did or your status or, or your education. It was about who you are as a person when that's all said and done. Because think about it. If you're at home, you have no degree at home, but your money doesn't matter at home, in the dark. It's mostly about who you are back to yourself. So that's why the show was so important. And it was 5 of us there. So you saw 5 men at different levels of healing. Most people really latched on to one of the guys who really had a hard time. And so we're all still friends, so I still check on them. But again, you saw 5 men at 5 different, we all had our own stories. My story was more so, I was always the hero for everybody, but I forgot about myself.
Right.
So I had to ask myself, is my brand based on the fact that that's all I know to do? Or is it something that I love? And so I had to stop doing this stuff and sit there and ask myself, am I doing this just to make up for what's been done to me, or am I doing the work because I love it? And I realized after just sitting back and enjoying my life, enjoying my kids, enjoying finding out who I was, that I did love this stuff. So that's what it was for me. And it was 2 shows, and it was watched by over 1 million people. And there are times where I can be out, like I was out at brunch with my partner, and also out at the bar, and folks stopped me and they said thank you. That's the biggest thing. Yeah, thank you. And of course, men of my age, 40 and older, you think that they're okay, but they've just mastered being okay.
Masking.
Yeah.
So where was it filmed? What location?
It was in Maryland.
Oh, it was in Maryland.
Yeah.
Oh, so you didn't have to travel far.
Yeah. It was supposed to be in LA, because if you ever watch the show is always filmed in the house. And so because I know what the Maryland house looks like, I can tell Maryland from LA. So there's some shows that are taped in LA and some in Maryland.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So was it hard for you to open up with sitting there with 5 different guys?
No, not open up. She did something interesting that you didn't see on the show. I was answering a question, and she stopped me. She said, "But you always have the right answer." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "But you live in your head because you always have the right answer." But she said your body is dead, which means you're not living in yourself, and that struck a chord with me, because I have to think, what does that mean? What it meant was I always have the right answer. That doesn't mean that it was right for me, and that doesn't mean that I was applying the answers. That just meant I knew what to say, because that's what saved me. So that's why I stopped for a while, and I said, so let me just live, and let me not have to save the world. Of course, I did my work on a small scale, but I wasn't out there in public all the time. Yeah, that was the biggest thing for me. So, and I'm glad that the show was done, because you don't see anything like that gives us our language to talk about that. Because usually when you think of any type of assault sexually, it's geared towards women.
Right.
White or black or green, it's always geared towards women.
Right.
So they always feel like that they have the resources, while their husbands are struggling, while their brothers are struggling. Because really, it's one guy in every six. So if you think of your friendship circles, and for every 6 people that you know, there's at least, and I say at least because those numbers are based on who reported it, but there's thousands who just haven't talked about it. And so that's why it's still an important topic now. Yeah.
So would you do the experience over again?
Now that I know what to do, no. I've done it, so I can't sell it again. But I would say if they did the show again, it would still be great, because the conversation is always timely. You know, there's never a time not to talk about sexual assault, because right now somebody's kid is dealing with it and they haven't told their parents yet.
There you go.
Right now.
There you go.
So know what I do? No, because I know what to expect, and I'd rather be raw and real with it. But I will never say that the topic can never be talked about again. So that's why we do what we do outside of the show. Yeah.
Wow. So how has the show inspired you to carry on and help other people, and then just carry on what you were taught in the house and what you already knew?
I think the show gave me another platform, definitely, because when people look at me on Instagram and they'll DM me and say, "Hey, aren't you?" Nah. No, yes, it's me. It's okay. It's me, because I'm so down to earth in person. It's like, that's you. Like, yeah, I'm chilling in jeans, sweater. I take it for what I think God has intended for me, because sometimes you have to step out of your own way and let Him do His work. So I take it as a platform that I was given. So now I can say that I've been on a global platform. And so
Definitely.
And so that adds some meat to my name, but not in the way of I need to boast, because that's not even me in real life. But if I go somewhere, they know what I'm talking about, or they know the experience, and so they want to hear how that's helped me. Because sometimes when people are asking how are you affected, what they're really asking you is, how can I be affected? They just don't. Men usually don't know how to say, how can you help me? But they'll say, how do they help you? And then in turn, it's answering the question for them. So I know so usually I know that when I'm answering the question, it's about that guy wanting to know, how can it help me? So that's why I do what I do still.
Wow. So we're going to take another quick break, and we're going to come back and get into Mr. George's book. We'll be right back.
Rock. So, hey youth man, take off them music there and forward this rock code rock.
listen, vision.
Welcome back to the Real Raw and Uncut show. I'm your host, Mike G.
I'm Michael.
And our special guest, Mr. Corey George. So now we're going to switch the topic a little bit. We're going to get into one of my favorite things, books. So introduce your book and dive right into it. Sell it.
Okay, so this is Sit or Stand 2.0. And the reason it's called 2.0 is because the first release, I kind of did what people expected of me, you know. But when I read it back, I said, this is not even in my language. It was typed up, but it wasn't in, like, you couldn't feel me in it. So I went back maybe 2-3 years later. I rewrote everything. I added a few chapters and a few surprises in there. And so what it is, when I wrote the book, I had already been life coaching. And I had already started the journey of coaching and helping people and, you know, being a speaker and an advocate. So this is kind of like, this is like a Boys to Men story of every lesson I had to teach. I used a real and raw example of my own life. I talk about the things I had to deal with, such as childhood rape, and I call it rape because I didn't know what it was. So I tell people I'm going to call it exactly what it was. Childhood rape. I talk about how I deal with my depression because I still deal with it. I talk about my issues with abandonment and how that affected my choices. You know, because off air, you know, we talked about how you feel affect your choices. And so this book really is about, you know, it's a play on words. So for me, sit means I'm taking exactly what the world has given me. And standing just means that I'm finally taking a stand for myself and choosing to write my own story after that. There's a lot of forgiveness in this book. There's a lot of self-appreciation at the end. But before that, it's about self-evaluation and self-awareness, because you can't really help yourself until you know yourself, right? And that's one of the most painful truths, is to say, I'm broken. And as a man, we're not taught to say that. We're taught to
be strong.
Be strong. You know, men don't cry. You know, man up. But the truth is, that's talking about not being able to talk about your feelings. And what happens is it piles up, and then it pops out in the wrong way. So people look at you like you're being irrational when you don't even know how to talk about your feelings. You know, whether it's crying, drug abuse, alcoholism, violence, all those things can be tied back sometimes, but to the fact that no one gave us a language to express ourselves in a timely manner. And anger isn't bad. You know, we're taught that if you get angry, that's a bad thing. No, I always say it's how you choose to ventilate that anger. That's the choice that makes it good or bad, because I can be mad at my kids for about an hour, but then I'm over it. But then what did I do in that anger? Did I beat them? Or, you know, seriously. So, so we have choices about how we deal with things. But if we're not given that, you know, those tools and say, as a man, it's okay. And what I started to do is there's this little thing I teach men, is that if you look at the word human, the word man is a subset of the word human. So we stripped part of the human out, and we just left him just being a physical being. While a woman can safely be a full human, so she can leave the house, but she can cry on your shoulder. You know, she's a nurturer, and that's, you know, and we're usually taught these things throughout childhood. But not all men are that way. But if you look at a lot of reasons why gay relationships don't last, it's because you're putting two folks together that don't know how to talk about their needs, talk about their expectations. And we usually tend to react as opposed to being proactive. So this book is talking about how do you do that safely for yourself first, and give yourself permission, because I don't have to tell you to be free. But some guy's waiting to be told that it's okay to talk about his feelings when it has nothing to do with me. If I choose not to listen, that's what I chose for you. But you don't need my permission to be who you are. So in this book, I talk about I cry. You know, I talk about I get mad. I talk about the power of forgiveness. That's chapter 5, and I know it because that's my favorite chapter. Because it's surprising how people live with things 20, 30, 40 years, but they're the only ones living with it then. Because the person you're mad at has moved on. They've gotten married, they've gone to college, they become successful, and you've been mad at somebody since the age of 8, and you're 38 and still pining over that. But then you get mad realizing that they forgot about it. So now you're mad again because you think that they don't care. No, they went on with their lives. Things happen. And sometimes we meet people at a juncture where they don't know how to respond to you. So are you blaming them for them not being ready to handle you? So sometimes you have to forgive people for doing the best that they can at that time. Now, that doesn't mean that you forget it. That just means that you're not going to let that part of your life be so controlled by something that's already happened, because you can't change it, So not going overboard, but that's really what the book is about. But the book also, towards the end of the chapters, is really talking about how I take all this pain, right? All this stuff and all the lessons I learned from trying to come over it. And now how do I turn that into my purpose and my power now? I was raped by 4 men, but I'm an advocate now. I know where they are, but they're not at my level. I went to college twice. They haven't gone once. I was on TV. They were not that kind of TV. But I'm boasting because when you look at how I decided, and that's a big word, I decided to do things differently, because I could have been a mess. I could have been the same mess of a person that comes to talk to me about how they're still broken and they can't find good partners, or they can't hold a job. They can't seem to, they can't seem to move up in life, but they're stuck on something that happened when they were 8 years old. 8, 10, 12, but they're 40 and 50 years old and still living through it. But they haven't, because there's a difference between living through something. That means everything that you go through is filtered through those eyes. Every person you pick is filtered through that lens. But coming over it says, I'm wise enough to possibly prevent it, but if I can't prevent it, I know how to bounce back quicker. Because as we said off air, life happens. I'm going to be hurt at some point. My kids say weird things to me, but they're kids. So yes, it bothers me, but I got, talk about it and we move on. And I'm going to hurt somebody. I'm not perfect. I'm going to say something off key. I have to apologize to this great man, at least once a month. So so it's not about being perfect. It's about being honest about who you are, and being the good person just says that when it's time to speak up, even if it's to trash yourself, then just do so, because then you move on, that much faster. Yeah.
So 2 questions I always get, and I want to ask you now, since I get to finally ask someone else. How long did it take you to write the book, and what do you want people to take from the book?
So this book, I just started writing at work one day. I think the book itself took me about a month, because I think it was a purge. No, well, so what happened was, this book was originally like almost 400 pages. But so when you're purging, you're just writing, right? But I had been writing since I was 7, so I still had a formula of how I do it. But I was just purging. I was getting all stuff out. Then I had to go back and realize I was telling the same stories over and over and over again. That's how it became down to this. Writing it took about a month, but then deciding to put it out took a while longer, because I had to ask myself, am I ready for the world who doesn't know me, or even my friends who don't know your most painful stories, to read this? Because sometimes we are the best person to go out with and party with, but they don't know that. But they may not know that the reason why you get so tore up is because you are tore up. So now I had to say, this wasn't just for the customers, but your friends who want to support you, going to read and say, wow, I would have never known this about you.
Right.
So I think the process itself took about 5 months. And I say that because when I did, and I told you this off air, because I had my idols, I went to the bookstore and I said, if I want to do this myself, I have to make sure that it's the same quality as someone who has a big name behind them. So any author out there listening, make sure that your stuff can stand out, because people are like this, so we're so visual. If they see the cover and if the cover is compelling, not the name, they'll read the summary of it. Okay, that's a good synopsis. Then they may read a paragraph and say, oh, you know what, I'm buying it. That's it. That's all you have to do. What I want people to take away from the book is very simple. Is that this is a grown-ass black man being as vulnerable as you can get.
Okay.
If I can do it, anyone can. And it's really about understanding that you are your own worst enemy at times, but you could be your own best friend at the, once the time is right. And I was writing something today for Twitter, and I said, But the biggest lie that we tell is a lie that we tell ourselves. And we have to believe that lie before we tell you the lie. So once we sell you on a lie that we sold ourselves, now we have to live on the lie. That's the worst thing to do. But if I tell you something and it makes me vulnerable, as we said off air, I own the truth. So you can't talk about me, right? So you can't say anything about me if I've already owned it. So that's what it is, about ownership and saying nobody's perfect and no one was expecting you to be perfect. And that's what this book is. It's about a guy who's just a little less broken.
And where can they find the book?
You can find it Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, all outlets. And if you want to sign a copy, of course, but you can go to my site, which is CoreyGeorge.com. That's CoreyGeorge.com. And yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to write again, though.
I say the same thing. And here I am, finished book 2, got book 3 underway, and already got ideas for book
But you know
4.
why? Because I like the joy of being able to talk to people right away. Like, doing projects and workshops. I can touch people right away. The book is about, okay, I got to save this stuff for a year. I got to save this stuff for 8 months. And then hopefully you get it because now you got to buy this. So that's why I love my social media, because I can put out messages all day long. So the book for me was a great thing to do, and I will always stand by it. But I started projects, but I just realized I need to put something out sooner for people to get right away.
Yeah. So are you computer? Because I'm still old school. I still use pen and paper. Like, I have so many spiral notebooks, like hundreds.
Okay, so I was thinking about asking my partner, but he's not mic'd up. I have notes everywhere. I have written notes everywhere. My attention span on paper can only be a paragraph because typing is so fast. Because I think fast, I talk fast. Plus, and I feel the work too. So hey, that's what I do. So I have all kind of tools. But yeah, writing is for quick notes, and I always write myself a to-do list every night. So writing is cool. Like handwriting, that's cool.
Yeah, I prefer it. I just go. But then when I look at it, I'm like, I gotta type this shit up for the editor.
I do both. I keep a to-do list on paper, but if I'm typing something, like writing it out, I like to type it on a computer because I can backspace real fast, write it out real again. I don't gotta scratch it out and try to rewrite up underneath. And I just keep my to-do list on paper, and then I write everything else on the computer.
Now there are times I find writing great for me because when I want to write, like I want to write him a letter, or I want to write my kids a letter, I do it by hand because that's the thought behind it. But that means that they know that I sat my behind at that table knowing I wouldn't do it. And I did it. So there's a sentiment behind actually writing because I think that's lost. Lost on us now. So
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So let's jump ship one more time. You have a podcast you're working on.
Yeah, the podcast is called Forward with Corey and Solomon. It's me and my good friend and therapist, Solomon Stretch, out in Atlanta. So we're hoping to launch the first podcast probably in the beginning of March. We had a show starting in September, and I wanted to pull it back and retool it because what I was discovering is that I was talking about today's topics, that stuff. That's not what I do. I'm a coach. I want to talk about stuff that you can take home now, and you can probably start to change your life in the car while you're listening to it. So having a life coach and then having a therapist on board, when you look at the LGBT community, and sometimes we need the diversity. So you guys have this show, but then you have my show that people can get these nuggets, and it's from a real therapist. So if I say it, I'm like, don't take my word for it. But if he says it, there's something that we could stand behind. So the show is not just an LGBT based show.
Right.
We do talk about things that are for us, but then we also realize that we have natural human issues, just regular people issues. So that's what we hope to add in the podcast world, because I don't see a lot of black males in those positions having podcasts that can really help us with those issues.
Mm-hmm.
When does it you expect to broadcast?
I'm expecting to broadcast the first Monday of March.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Spring show.
Yeah. Taking my time and making sure it's right. Yeah.
And also, if you guys can see, we have his hoodies. Want to explain the hoodies and the meaning behind them?
So today, actually, I've had these messages for a while. So I was talking to you about how God works. God has sent me a lot of these messages a year or two ago. I had the T-shirts earlier in the spring and the summer, and I was just doing tests. I was wearing them, and people would stop me and say, "Wow, I like the message on your shirt." So I was doing like a test run. So when it came to the hoodies, I have actually 10 designs now. So what you see now is actually the out loud one, which people are really liking. And what that is, and what that's really about is choosing to do whatever you love to do. Do it out loud, do it, do it with some gusto, because that's who you are. And Faith versus Fear, which is one of my personal favorites, it talks about the fact that the only thing that trumps fear is faith. Faith allows you to kind of forecast your future. Faith makes you stay behind the line because you want to play it safe. And so again, we have 10 designs, and the line is called P3. And this is where it becomes valuable to listen to your friends. I didn't know what I was going to call this line anyway. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was like, "You know what? You always inspiring people to find their purpose, and to live in their passion, and to stand firm." In their own position in life. And I said, well, that's what it is. P3. Every slogan or every graphic is meant to inspire not just you, because you feel what you wear. So if you purposely wear this, you're wanting to feel that way. But think about thousands of people who see you walk by, and who may glance for like a millisecond, but they take that message in. And so now you've inspired somebody without even trying. So the whole line really is about passing it on. Yes, I'm wearing this, but I know somebody read this today. I'm on Metro. I'm on the bus. I'm walking down the street. Somebody has seen you wear this, and so the whole point of the line really is to further my work in the motivational field, but also a $1 per item, not per purchase, but $1 per item purchase. So if you purchase 10, that means that's $10 going to a charity or a nonprofit that benefits men who have who are still dealing with some form of issues as it relates to rape. So that's what the cause is for. So that's what I'm doing, and I hope to have out as many more designs as I can. But I only design when I feel it. So it's like, if there's no message, I'm not just going to make something and just put my name on it. Yeah. Yeah.
So we have about 5 minutes left. Where can they find this, or is it available yet?
Yeah, it's available as of today, and I meant to put the discount code to start it all off, but you can find it at P3 by CoreyGeorge.com. Just go straight there, and all the hoodies on the front page. And so it's different sizes. I know the hoodies come from so this is small, this is medium, and I'm wearing large. And we also have the T-shirts, because some people want to go in the gym and try to help people out. We have various colors. So this comes in 8 colors. This comes in 7. I'm wearing 2 of them now. And I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that once I get home, I'm going to discount it up to 15%, and the code will be on the homepage. I just haven't done it yet. So, it's affordable, it's warm, it's a high quality, because I tested it, and that's why I've had it, have them at home. Just want to make sure that if I'm selling it and putting my name on it, that it's not going to fade or it's not going to stain your clothes.
And it's also for a good cause as well.
It is, yeah.
So how can they reach you? Contact?
Oh, well, the website is CoreyGeorge.com. Twitter and Instagram is it's Corey George, but it's I am at first. No, you know what? I say that wrong. I am Corey George. I was thinking of my Tumblr handle, but I haven't made that one yet. So I'm going to have a Tumblr page for the line soon. So, Facebook, you can find me at Corey George. I mean, it's my face, so you can see me.
Right.
Yeah, that's not many. I think that's all I have. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
That's enough.
And the
trying
website.
to keep up with all that.
By myself.
I struggle with it too.
Every day.
Too much.
Yeah.
But I get it done.
Well, you have to.
How can they find you, Mr. Twerker?
I'll be on Instagram at MD_studios. That's where you can find me.
Facebook?
It's my Facebook.
Are you still on Facebook?
Yeah, I got everything.
I haven't seen you on
I have every app.
I know I seen you on Instagram. Mike G. Riggins on everything. I keep it simple so you can find me easily and book me. Well, that's it. Until next week. Bryant had an emergency, so he couldn't make it, but he was tuning in. Hi, Bryant. We'll be back next week. I'm not sure who the guest will be. I'm waiting for Bryant to confirm that. But
where can you find B Anomaly?
B Anomaly will tell you when he come back next week. So see y'all next week.
Listen, vision.